Hello, and welcome to episode 105 of Cutscene Convos. We are flying through
We
these
are.
numbers like they are going out of fashion. We've got a very busy episode this week.
Mm.
We've got a character profile on Professor Charles Xavier. We'll be talking about The Bad Batch episode 5.
Yes, we will.
We'll be discussing the Spider-Man conundrum. We'll be talking about the new Fallout show, which is edging ever closer, before we move into our Nerd News Network. You okay? All right.
Yeah, it was just the way you
Yeah.
paused there on that word.
What, edging?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain to us what edging means to you? All right.
It's what you and Josh do to me every night when we play games.
I'm sorry, my YouTube commenters would like to inform you that I don't have friends I play games with. I play games by myself. How's your week been?
My week's been busy,
Yeah.
but not busy with work. Yeah, it's so what day? Friday last week.
Yeah.
We had the internment for my grandma, so burying the ashes. It was only a little small thing, but not all the family obviously could make it as it was a Friday. But some of the family came up, and then main one being my uncle's, my mum's brother, and we essentially started making a start on the house as family was up, mainly tackling the attic. So this is like an attic where my granddad would not let my grandma sort it while he was alive.
Yeah.
Then after he died, my grandma was like, "No, it's too big of a task. We'll do that another time." And I always put it off. This attic has been like some of the stuff. Like I would say, we did 7 trips to the tip. It was just like a lot of stuff
Always the
of
way, innit?
just old junk that like it needed tackling first. So I spent like 3 days there doing that with my parents. Good task done, and like found some cool things that I've kept and different little things, which was nice. And going through stuff was nice, finding things. So
yeah, I guess that's the only kind of sweet part of that kind of process, isn't it? You get to
yeah,
go back through and see things you'd forgotten about. You're like, oh, I can't believe they still have this.
yeah, and like there was some funny things. Like my uncle found a Silverstone program when he took my granddad years ago. Like 2006 or something, and my granddad had just kept the like booklet, and he was like, he kept this.
That's really cool.
So yeah, there was a lot
Cool.
of cool little things like that we kind of discovered. So that was nice.
Awesome.
And then the rest of this week just been gaming and working on some projects. And
awesome.
How's your week been?
How's my week been? Pretty good. We're finally getting somewhere with a flat.
I was gonna say
Yeah. After months of waiting for the landowner to sort out the lease extension so that we could go through, it's finally happened. So wheels are moving again, which means
wheels are moving
just
fast.
Chaos. Yeah, it's going to be chaos because we have to get it done by the end of the month. So we've got 22 days.
Nice.
To exchange and complete, which is just stunning. The only good news is because the chain is so short, as in we're living at my parents' house and they're moving into a new build, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And it means even if we complete, we don't have to move in that day. We'll have the keys, and we'll be responsible for the mortgage and stuff. But if we want to take 2 weeks to like get
you can take your time
before moving stuff, we can. So there's that.
Yeah.
But we're finally getting somewhere. So this background is not long for this world. It's all going to change very soon.
Do you know what you need to do is just take a still without you in frame and get a green screen just while it's under construction, and just use the same. Then mid-episode, just like drop the green screen.
Do our best H Bomber guy impression where you just do the big reveal. It's been a green screen the whole time.
Yeah.
But we're on project work for most of this month. And for the first time ever, week 1 of the project has gone basically as good as it can go.
Damn.
As in, I was worried that the first week wouldn't take a week, and we managed to do it in 3.5 days.
Well,
So
okay then.
yeah, we absolutely smashed it out of the park this week, and that's always a good feeling when you're ahead on one, ahead on a
Oh
project
yeah,
especially.
for sure.
So yeah, overall not too bad. Excited to go see Dune 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, we were talking about it before we started recording. I still need to see the first one.
Yeah, we'll get you on that.
Yeah.
I've been. I mean, we're getting straight to but fuck it, it's our podcast. Um, I've been wanting for a while to get back into books, which is really difficult to convince myself to do when I'm struggling to keep on top of my comic books.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a plan,
Oh.
so that's fine. And now like I enjoyed June 1 so much, and I'm so excited for June 2. I'm like, do I be a good sci-fi nerd and read the June trilogy?
This is what I've been thinking. I'm like, I'm worried I'm gonna watch them and be like, time to pick up a book.
And do you know what the worst bit is? Because just the internet's so good at knowing what you're thinking about.
Mm.
I've been getting a lot of TikToks about June,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like there's big book fans going, these are the first 2 films and probably trilogy that I genuinely think are better to watch before you read the books.
Oh.
He's like, everything else I'd say make sure you read the books first.
Mm.
And he's like, I think these films have done a really good job of actually being a really nice gateway into the books, which has me even more like,
Yeah.
interesting.
You're gonna watch the second one and be like, well, now I have no choice.
Yeah, exactly. Because the first 2 films are just the first book. So like,
yeah.
anyway, let's get on to character profile. For the last few weeks, we've been covering the Suicide Squad.
We have.
As a result of the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League game. And with X-Men 97 just around the corner.
Yep.
I thought, let's get into the X-Men. We did Beast a little while back.
We did.
So we're going to move on to some of the others, starting with Professor X.
As expected.
Professor X, aka Dr. Charles Francis Xavier, first appeared in X-Men number 1 in July 1963. Professor X is the head of the X-Men. He's a powerful telepath and staunch advocate for human-mutant coexistence. In his ancestral home, he began Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. In fact, this school was a cover to protect, nurture, and teach young mutants in a place safe from anti-mutant extremism they might experience trying to go to a traditional school. It was at this school Xavier would form his first X-Men roster, a group of mutants who would help and protect humans from threats and other nefarious mutants in an effort to show humans that mutants are people too and not to be feared and hated. One of the most common threats the X-Men would battle would be Magneto, a longtime friend of Charles turned enemy who doesn't believe that mutants and humans can coexist, but rather that mutants are the next evolutionary step and as such are superior to humans. However, mutant extremists weren't the only thing threatening Charles's dream of human-mutant coexistence, as Dr. Trask, a loud anti-mutant activist, created the Sentinel robots. These robots that were designed to protect humans from mutants, but these Sentinels would become the start of multiple different generations of robotics and bigotry, leading to a regular threat to mutant life more than protecting humans from rogue mutants. Professor X would go on to also be a member of the Illuminati, a group including Namor, Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, Mr. Fantastic, and Iron Man. This group acted above all laws and rules to make decisions with impunity in secret that would affect the world. While they did successfully avert many crises, however, they also put the world in grave danger on numerous occasions due to their selfish actions. After numerous years of actions like joining the Illuminati, his students, such as team leader Cyclops, began to become distrustful of him, as it became apparent on numerous occasions he'd taken it upon himself to remove memories from the team when he saw fit, and also he had trapped a sentient entity in the danger room to make it more immersive for their training. As a result of this long eroded trust, as well as other things, Xavier finally cracked, gave up on his dream of unification, and joined Magneto to create a mutant sovereign net state known as Krakoa, which was on the secret island in the Pacific Ocean that is sentient.
Hmm.
I feel like Charles Xavier might be one of few characters that actually has a better famous reputation than they deserve.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't like. Obviously, I knew about the Illuminati stuff from
Yeah.
the Doctor Strange
So
film, but I didn't know he kind of ended up just giving up on everything and essentially turning to the opposite side.
so I'm not going to pretend to be an X-Men
Expert.
like know it all. I don't know a lot about the X-Men in that sense. I do know the broad strokes. But
Hmm.
essentially, Professor X is a massive hypocrite.
Okay.
And he has a bit of a god complex. So he's
Mm,
like, "No, you shouldn't do that." But
right.
when he's put in the position where he needs to do it, he's like, "I'm allowed to do it. I'm smart enough
I
to
know
make that
best.
decision." Yeah.
Yeah.
Um and as a result of that, over the years, he kind like the X-Men do still exist, but as far as I'm aware, right now they are not friendly with Xavier. They are very
Mm.
much opposite sides to Xavier. Over years of like bad human mutant interactions and him
Mm.
losing control over the X-Men, essentially, he's not as much coexistence now, but rather you stay on your country, I'll stay on ours.
Oh, okay.
Um, which isn't helpful.
No, not
Um,
really.
but yeah, it's really interesting. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think the 2000s films with Patrick Stewart, who's such a beloved actor, kind of really did a lot for Charles Xavier PR because it never really got to the point where it started examining his flaws as a person. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I always it crops up on occasion. There's like a reminder that he made Magneto relive the Holocaust, which is like
yeah,
it's a pretty questionable thing to do.
yeah. The Professor X is so good as a character conceptually
Hmm.
because he's this guy who genuinely believes, despite his flaws, in the idea that people can coexist.
Yep.
But he's also the biggest reason why people can't coexist because even when someone wholeheartedly believes in that, if
Hmm.
you give them the ability to get in someone's head and bend them to their will slightly, he will.
Yeah.
And even though his entire argument is I'd never do that to like fix things or make people not hate us,
Hmm.
he made Cyclops forget about his brother.
It's pretty questionable.
Like he does kind of
Yeah. Blur the
it,
lines
do
when
you
he
know what
wants
it is?
to.
It's a case of to what end. It's very
Hmm.
much like the slippery slope argument. It's like, oh, by making Cyclops forget about his brother, who he never really knew anyway, he knew him for like 5 minutes before he died. I'll
Yep.
just remove that painful memory. It doesn't change his life at all, but it allows him to focus on what really matters, which is making humans and mutants coexist.
Yeah.
Before you know it, he's wiping everyone's minds and just turning them into these perfect little peace loving people,
Yeah.
which kind of destroys the entire concept of we need to work towards being
Yeah.
friendly. So yeah, very, very interesting character. Um, and with the X-Men eventually coming to the MCU, maybe we'll get
Yes.
to see some of that darker side of Charles Xavier.
Hmm. It's a possibility.
You know what I love, Horry?
What's that?
I love the Bad Batch.
So do I.
I love them so much. Wrecker just being a beaming bundle of joy at Omega being home
Mm.
is giving me life.
Oh
He's
yeah,
just so happy.
he is. And there was so many funny moments as well. Like, um, obviously happy to have her back. He's like, well, Omega trusts Crosshair, so I
Yeah.
trust Omega. He just wants everything to be back to normal. Back doing
Wrecker
their
just wants to live with his
missions.
family, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny though, because it also shows how much Omega's changed as a character over these 3 seasons. In the first season, she was very much the child they're just trying to protect.
Yeah.
But having lost her, not being able to find her, she's escaped, got their brother back, found their way back to them.
Mm.
Wrecker's like, hey, Omega says he's cool, good enough for me.
Yeah, they.
Also, did you see the awesome dog she got? We're winning.
Yeah. I also love that the dog was playing with the. I don't know what those creatures are, the monkey-looking creatures on the
Yeah.
island.
Thatcher is having a great time, and I
Yeah,
adore him.
living his best life after being in an imperial dog kennel. But it was an interesting episode.
For sure.
It was. Do you know what was really weird? Was seeing Crosshair back in that. Like, obviously makes sense. They kept like Wrecker being adorable, being like, "Well, I kept the armor because I just couldn't throw it away. Didn't feel right." And he's like, gives him his old armor back. It was weird. I'd got so used to the Bad Batch's new art. Like, obviously it's still the same armor, but it's got the newer color scheme.
Yeah.
Having Crosshair back in the black and red, I was like, this looks weird.
Yeah.
I'd kind of forgot that's what it looked like.
Just
but also,
it's not been worn down.
yeah. But I thought it was interesting that the start of the episode when he's off train or attempting to practice his aim, which felt a bit harsh having the medbot do that. I'm like, we know he's missing. It's like
50%, far below your normal.
Yeah, what was it? It was like 53%. And we're led to believe that Crosshair doesn't miss. So he's like lost half his accuracy, which is.
And it's clearly bugging him as well.
Yeah.
It's going to definitely be a major plot point. They are like ramming it down our throat of, don't forget he's got the shakes, he can't hit his shots.
Pause. No, I think you're right. I think you've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. Of like, it's clearly going to be an issue of him trying to figure out where he fits in. And I think that was also sort of showing like he hadn't changed out of the clothes that he'd got from that other planet. He wasn't talking to Wrecker and Hunter. He clearly was like kind of not wanting to rejoin properly or like adjust back into the group. And I think the hand thing's also throwing him off.
You know, when it's normally more something that like people will remember from the school days, but you remember when you'd have like an argument with your friend and you'd feel bad about it and you'd want to apologize, but you thought they were still angry at you, so you just went, fuck it, I won't talk to them because I don't want them to think I care. And then you just don't talk about it for ages. It was that kind of an energy. It was like he's my brother and I love him, but he doesn't want to apologize to me either, so I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of being the first one to apologize, which is why they're both so combative the entire time, when in reality, they do just want to give each other a big hug and go, I'm so glad you're okay.
Yeah, it's almost like Hunter clearly was like, I don't trust him, but didn't want to like question it, but wasn't wanting to question him yet. Was kind of wanting to, okay, Omega says it's all right, she doesn't want us to fight, so I'm not going to have a fight. And then you got Crosshair, who's like, almost you get the vibe that he wants to tell them, look, I fucked up. I know I fucked up.
Yeah.
And like explain everything. But he also doesn't want to admit that he was wrong to them. And it's kind of this like tension was building through the episode till they're on the. I thought it was funny when Echo arrived. And he gives Omega a hug, and then he's like, oh, no hug for me. And it just like glares at him like, no, you don't deserve a hug. But yeah, then they like butt heads a bit, obviously, on the planet. Hunter and I like how as soon as he admitted that he'd shot an Imperial officer and he realizes that they betrayed him, Hunter almost was like, okay, you realize what's going on now.
Yeah, you get it. He was trying to work out whether Crosshair was just being Crosshair, who was always combative, and it got him thrown in the brig, or if something could actually happen. That's what he was trying to work out. He's like, are you just here because the Empire threw you out and you don't have a choice, or are you actually against the Empire?
Yeah.
Because there is a big difference in Hunter's mind.
I really wanted him to admit of like what that planet was and like explain that, no, there was men here that I actually ended up giving a shit about and they betrayed them. So that was the last the final straw.
I watched them cast our brothers aside, and I wasn't gonna let it happen.
Yeah, I really wanted him to like just explain it, but obviously,
I've got a feeling
mm,
that you're right about Tech, and they've given Tech some kind of augmentation to kind of replace Crosshair. Because they were clearly
mm,
experimenting on Crosshair to work out what caused his augmentation. And
yeah.
I've got a feeling that Tech's body has been like resuscitated and just given a fuck ton of augments, and he's gonna be like super clone.
I'm leaning into this now because we're clearly with Echo. Him and Rex are obviously trying to find this facility because they want to free the
Yeah.
clones. That was the whole. They're trying to find information. That's why they went to the ice planet or whatever. One, just give us Rex already. Like I just want to see Rex again.
Where's my boy?
But it's like that's clearly what they're setting up for.
Yeah.
Which I really do think. There's obviously we keep saying about we're worried Omega might die. I have my new theory now is they're going to end up at the facility, and in the like chaos of trying to free people or storm it, that one that I've said might be Tech is gonna his helmet's gonna come off in a fight or something, and they're gonna realize it's Tech, and he's like, "No, I'm not this person that you like." He's completely memories different, but
I'm
it's like
CT, whatever.
Omega's gonna be Omega and be like, "No, I can save you. You're
Yeah.
my brother," and he's then just gonna capture her because she's trying to help him. And then there's going to be this issue of the other guys don't want to shoot Tech because they can't bring themselves to do it. Or like Crosshair is going to be too shaky or something. And then there's going to be some scuff. Like it's going to be the reveal
Absolutely.
of Tech being alive that is going to just cause chaos. And
For sure.
someone's going to die, if not multiple.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Omega's character is so clearly defined as like, I will do what is morally right, even if it's the dumb thing,
Mm-hmm.
that I refuse to believe she survives this and doesn't end up fighting in the rebellion.
Yeah.
There's no way Omega,
No.
this little Australian sounding girl
Mm-hmm.
who's learnt all this from her big brothers,
Yeah, she didn't end up on an island for the
finds
rest of her
yeah,
life.
finds out that the rebellion's going and just like, nah, I'm gonna chill on the tropical paradise, thanks.
Yeah, didn't happen.
In reality, if Omega survives, she in reality would have been as big a part of the rebellion as like a Princess Leia. With Omega's mind and her passion for everything, she absolutely would have worked her way up to be that important in
Yep.
the rebellion. So unless they're going to do like a Captain Rex thing where we're like that old white dude in the original trilogy, that was Captain Rex.
Yeah,
So
that
we
old
made the
lady.
design match up. Imagine if they try and make Mon Mothma. Ignoring the fact that timeline-wise that can't work. Imagine.
No. But I am worried that there's gonna be I do believe there's gonna be some twist. And
Sure.
yeah, I'm very worried for Omega. Clearly this whole handshaking, they're still focusing on this. I think it's to play into he doesn't know what to do with himself because he can't be what he was. And also I think it's gonna be an issue when there's like a life or death moment.
Yeah, I can absolutely see him also falling on his own sword to protect someone as
Mm,
like a final act of I'm sorry I betrayed you before.
yeah. Definitely can see him sacrificing himself.
This show's gonna start hitting us really heavy in the feels later on, for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Why
Um,
I just hope Wrecker. I'd love if it's just Wrecker and the dog left. If they're the ones that have to survive,
I do
Wrecker and the
feel like
dog would make a great duo.
Wrecker without the rest of the Bad Batch though would just decide he's going to punch the Empire into oblivion by himself as revenge.
Mm. I do worry that there could be a situation where we end up with just Hunter or something.
Yeah. Total squad wipe is a real possibility.
Also a possibility. They could be
Because with
real
how much
harsh to
they'll
us.
care for each other, I can't
Yeah.
see one of them surviving and not just going on a fucking rampage. Maybe that's what the next animated show is. It's just Hunter Rampage, and it's just like 12 episodes of them just being an absolute ball ache for the Empire and causing loads of damage.
Imagine.
But from one conundrum to another,
Mm.
Spider-Man. I've been alluding
You,
to talking about this for a while
you
because
have.
it is a big kind of thing, and I didn't know how to approach it.
And we've
So,
dabbled on talking about some of
yes.
it.
Well, it kind of broke into the mainstream news. Like, this is how long I've been waffling about it, like saying I'll talk about it eventually.
Yeah.
That it ended up becoming like a legitimate piece of news, and it kind of compounded the issue and slowed me doing a proper piece on it even more. But basically, what it does boil down to is Sony wants Spider-Man to be big multiverse person.
Yeah.
MCU have finally realized no, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, he should be in New York.
Yeah.
And this comes down to the entire problem of Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the biggest superhero in the world. Fact. That's not a debate. I'm not hearing it. It's a fact. He's the biggest superhero in the world. He always has been. He always will be.
Yeah. Very close second is Superman.
Yeah, but I'd say in more modern time, Batman's probably overtaken Superman just because Batman's had so many more recent media adaptations.
Possibly, yeah.
And as a result of that, he's got such a big market appeal
Mm-hmm.
that no one wants to do a TV show. No
No.
one wants to do anything in live action that's not a film.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to be less than a film, it's animated.
Yeah.
Which, as a result, when you're going to spend 300 million making one of these comic book movies now, because apparently that's what they cost when you include marketing and stuff, you're not going to just want to tell him fighting Tombstone around the streets of New York because Tombstone's pushing drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. They're not going to spend 40 minutes of a 2.5 hour film wasting time talking about how he's lost his job again and he can't really afford rent and how his life is in complete shambles.
No.
Unless you do a trilogy. And like you weave that in throughout the three. And Raimi's come closest to doing that in films. He still struggled a little bit, but he's come the closest.
Yeah.
But even then, it wasn't as much friendly neighborhood. It was more in the idea of I've been Spider-Man in between these films, and now this is a big moment, and we're just gonna focus on the big moment, and you don't get to see any of the small stuff he's been doing in between.
Yeah.
In reality, Spider-Man needs shows like Netflix's Daredevil, not necessarily tonally, but these kind of 12, 13 episodes, 13 hours worth of Spider-Man dealing with a problem. Where you've got the time to mix in his personal life of missing dates with MJ, or if he's in college, missing college finals and trying to make up extra credit and trying to help May out with money and this, that, and the other. But because of just his appeal, they're like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
Which it just leaves us in a horrific position.
Yeah, it's not the easiest. And I actually think, and to give Kevin and what he's done, how he's used Spider-Man in the MCU, I think and this is what kind of has led into the news, but like, I actually think he's done a good job at weaving him into the MCU world in a way that somewhat made sense and has actually now positioned him in such a way that like he wants to make him now the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Homecoming was the closest Marvel got to nailing Spider-Man conceptually. Bearing in mind the way they had to bring him in because of like deals with Sony and that, and how late they brought him into the game. That idea of him he's been like told by the Avengers, right, you operate in New York, be helpful, but leave the big stuff to the big boys. We know you're a child.
Yeah, and like the idea that Tony's the one that kind of spotted him and is like, okay, we need to just keep an eye on that.
Exactly. And then because he is so good-willed, when he finds out about the Vulture and he doesn't feel like anyone's taking it seriously enough, he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't drop it.
Yeah.
That is really, really good characterization. And while a lot of people hate Far From Home, I love Far From Home, but
Yeah.
the idea of Spider-Man running across Europe doesn't sit right. It feels a bit weird.
Yeah. It.
Um,
Yeah. It was a bit.
yeah. And then No Way Home is okay to do occasionally for a Spider-Man story. Because there is previous for it. It
Hmm.
made sense. It all works out okay. I don't have an issue with it. Trying to do in live action 2 back-to-back multiverse Spider-Man stories is fucking absurd.
It also just wouldn't make sense now, because it's like, obviously we like what we want is we want Spider-Man to have the vibe of Spider-Man, and like you say, back
Yeah.
to back multiverse stuff doesn't make sense for Spider-Man. Kevin knows that, and I think the way he essentially used No Way Home as like, okay, we need to bring in the multiverse for the MCU bigger picture. We need to this idea that like worlds can collide. We could have some fun doing this with Spider-Man. Also gives us an opportunity story-wise. Why don't we make it so everyone then to fix it, everyone forgets he's Spider-Man, which lets us position him now to be New York's little friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. No one has a clue who he is, and he kind of just to make do on his own. Kevin knew what he was doing. So then Sony be like, no, we now want bigger. Again, it's like, why would he go and do this? Like, no one knows who he is. Like, none of that story would make sense now, and I think the fans would actually hate it more if that
The
happened.
the position they left him in was perfect.
Exactly.
He has no one. And don't get me wrong, like, I understand the meme of Spider-Man fans are only happy when Peter Parker's miserable. Like, I get it, it's funny, cool. But he has no one. He feels alone. All he has is Spider-Man.
Mm.
But at the same time, by being Spider-Man, he stops himself from being able to have anything else.
Yep.
So, as we saw at the end of the last one, he's now making his own suits because he has no connections anymore.
Yep.
Suit looked gorgeous.
He's got his own little apartment.
He's got a tiny, crappy New York apartment that probably costs more than we make in a year because it's New York.
Yeah.
Which would be a huge point of money trouble.
Yep.
He's studying for the GED because obviously he doesn't exist anymore, so his diploma and results don't exist. So he has to get his GED, which means he'll probably end up having to go to a community college where he doesn't get a lot of support from teachers and he has to try and make his way through. And despite being brilliant and being smart enough to pass all these classes, he doesn't have time to study or do the homework or be arriving punctually to tests because, hobgoblins blowing up buildings again. Like,
yeah.
But also a big thing that has been spoken about, and they definitely can fix in this next trilogy, is they've turned him into a bit of a baby in the sense of he's really high pitched and he's always there. I need more sarcasm. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's great.
Yeah.
I could not imagine him meeting Green Goblin and going, "Hey, Gobby, why have you got a man purse?" That's a Spider-Man line. Nice man purse. I can't see Tom Holland saying that right now.
I can see him getting there. And like what I hope, like you say, we're in a position now where he's clearly going to be trying to deal with like a community college, also trying to make money to pay for this apartment, and he wants to be Spider-Man. I think those experiencing the fact that he's essentially lost everyone, he's going to hide. I think they can use him then becoming a bit more sarcastic and that like level of humor as a way of like clearly that's how he's coping with things.
Yeah.
And they can build that into it. So
for sure. And then the next thing is we're reportedly getting the Punisher back in Daredevil Born Again.
Yes.
Now, while I don't want him to be involved in it, I don't want every episode of another show in New York to have Spider-Man in it. But them kind of street level crossovers do happen. It makes sense.
Yep.
if he meets Punisher and his reaction is anything other than Punisher, you're a fucking lunatic who deserves to be in prison, that's not Spider-Man.
Yep.
Do you know, like, Spider-Man does not trust the Punisher because the Punisher genuinely believes he can go around killing criminals and that is okay. And Spider-Man is like, no, you're fucking not. I will stop you.
Yeah.
And if we don't see that, what's the point? If we get any kind of scene with Punisher and Spider-Man together and it isn't him going, you're going to stop killing people or I'm going to stop you,
Hmm.
it's, do you know, it's just, there's a real danger of a fundamental misunderstanding coming through here. And I've got a feeling Sony's going to force Marvel's hand in a way that makes that problem worse because Sony are like, we want it in 2025, we want it multiversal.
Hmm.
Disney were like, 2026, street level. It sounds like, based on the most recent reports,
Yeah.
that as a compromise, it's 2025 street level, which means we lose an entire year of prep and planning, which might mean
Well,
details like that slip under the radar.
yeah, but that's. I don't see them using Punisher in the film. I think we'd more
Potentially not.
likely get it the opposite way because you've also got to think the film is going to be street level, but there's still going to be a bigger storyline going on there. Like, obviously, it's the first of the next trilogy, as we know it's going to be. It's going to be clearly him setting him up to be going to college and setting up those things we've just discussed. But there's going to be like the first kind of like big sort of issue he's dealing with. I think what you more likely will get, and this is whether Sony allow it. Like Sony, obviously, yeah, use him in a film because they see film makes big money. Cool. Are they going to let him? I'd love to see him show up in a Daredevil episode, and it's like, oh, you're also here. Cool. We're both doing the same thing. Shows up in a Punisher episode to try and stop him, like you say,
Yeah.
being like, "What the fuck are you doing? You can't do this." And it's like in the Punisher series, it's that clash from Punisher's POV.
Tell me a scene like the one in Echo where Daredevil comes flying in and Echo's trying to fight Daredevil
Mm,
from Punisher's point of view trying to deal with Spider-Man
mm.
wouldn't be fucking electric.
Well, yeah, and it's like, what? Like, look at what we got in the Netflix show when we got Punisher and Daredevil of him like on the roof. Great scene with the two of them,
Yeah.
and it's like you say, like have like the Daredevil Echo thing, but from Punisher's POV, and it's like him fighting Spider-Man, and like Tom Holland Spider-Man being like, "You can't be doing this," but obviously he's still kind of young and doesn't actually know, doesn't want to like he's trying to find a way to stop him without like having to just beat the shit out of him.
So this is the thing as well. I don't want like, yes, he's young, but there needs to be an understanding that while Spider-Man is young, because of the life he's had, he's also very emotionally
Mm,
mature in the sense of he's like, I'm not moving on. Spider-Man's a stubborn prick. I love
yeah.
him. He's a stubborn prick. That's why he works alone so much.
Mm,
He's selfish. He is not a good partner.
yeah.
That's why his relationships always end up being a bit rough at times. That's why he can't work with people for long times
Mm-hmm.
because he has this chip on his shoulder, which is everything is my problem and I'll fix it.
Yeah.
So that needs to shine through. And they've set him like we've already said, they've set him up perfectly for that.
Mm-hmm.
He has just literally taken on the weight of the world because he's cut off all of his emotional support. He's lost the girl he loves. He's lost his best friend. He's lost his aunt. He's
Mm-hmm.
lost all of his superhero powers, who are the only people
Yeah.
who know what it's like to live his life. Now let him be a little bit sour. He doesn't need to be like mopey and grumpy and horrific to people, but just let him be
Well,
a little bit depresso. He's just kind of there like, wow, being Spider-Man sucks.
well, that's why I was saying like I think that sarcastic humor can come in now because it'll be his way of dealing with like, well, I'm all alone, so I guess I deal with you on my own. Sort of like
Yeah.
making a joke about how he's lost everything, and then he starts just becoming a bit more sarcastic and, like you say, more stubborn in like, well, I've no one else to help me. Like I'm sticking to my guns. I know what's right.
We need to remember, although Tom Holland's like 28 now or whatever, Peter Parker's still like 20 or something. Go talk to a 20-year-old. All of their humor is self-deprecating. Oh, I wish I was fucking
Well,
dead. Yeah, me too, bro. That is like. I know you're nearly 40 now, Horry, but that is what humor is like as a 20-year-old.
bruh. We also need to remember Tom Holland's British and he understands that like sarcastic
Yes.
humor so well. Just let some of it come out. And I do
Absolutely.
think like I actually while the MCU's been a bit wishy-washy in places with their story in the new phase, and we've had our gripes with it. I
Yeah.
actually think where they left Spider-Man and how they've positioned him is like they have a good, perfect direction for once, and it's actually Sony that could throw a whole spanner in the works.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too sidetracked, but it does kind of fit into this as well. There is a real discussion being had right now as to whether Disney has grounds to sue Sony.
Well, for ruining the Spider-Man image.
Yeah. So lawyers are like, it would be very, very difficult to prove, but Disney have like the best IP lawyers in the world. So if anyone can win it, it is them.
And they've also got all the money in the world they could need.
Yeah. But the idea would be so like the case would be, and we've said similar things to be fair, which kind of does make Disney's point a little bit when it's a common consensus.
Yeah.
Sony make their films deliberately ambiguous to the point where either some of their actors think they're making MCU films.
Yeah.
This confuses the consumer, damages the brand of the MCU and the brand of Spider-Man. And Sony don't own the brand of Spider-Man. They own the film rights of Spider-Man.
Yeah, and there has to be some legal thing that, like, if you're using your rights to make films to actually damage
Absolutely, it would be.
franchise, then you
because like Marvel still own obviously like the comic rights to it.
Yeah.
If Disney could prove, for instance, you're deliberately making bad films to hurt our Spider-Man comic sales
and misleading both fans and actors that this is part of the MCU.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that trial broadcast to the world would be electric. Imagine Sydney Sweeney getting up under oath and going, "They told me it was going to be part of the MCU."
Yeah, I was led to believe it was part of the MCU. The script that I was shown was not actually the script we filmed.
Yeah. I heard the president of Sony laughing in the bathroom about how they were going to destroy Marvel.
I saw on a whiteboard the Sony's how we collapse the MCU, and it's got Craven, Morbius.
The big sticking point in the case would be when they show the success of Spider-Man Miles Morales, and undoubtedly the amount of extra comic book money the character of Miles started making after them films came out. That destroys Disney's whole case. It's like they're just making Spider-Man films to try and ruin us, and then they're like Spider-Verse, and then they're like, oh yeah, Miles has like tripled in comic sales or whatever it is. There's no way his sales haven't gone up as a result of that film. I'll tell you that for free. And that, I think that is what would destroy their case.
I think it depends. Like if they're aiming it at the fact of the how it's affecting the MCU, and not so much the brand of Spider-Man, then it's the animated isn't doing it or trying to be connected to the films. Whereas like there's a case that they're clearly trying to make the Sony films feel connected by using same actors and different things.
Just realistically, Marvel and Disney aren't going to do that because they just want to harbor a good relationship. But
do you know what we need? We need drunk Tom Holland to ring up the Sony execs again and be like, no, I want to make street. If you want me as Spider-Man, I'm only making street level Spider-Man. And they'll go, okay. Sorry, Tom.
It's just, it just sucks so much that it gets to the point where you've got two studios with so much power and control butting heads over stuff. And at the end of the day, it's only going to be us as fans who really suffer.
Yeah. I would love to hear the conversation of like Disney, and they must be nowadays sat there going, we should never have let the rights to Spider-Man go. And like,
I
I
bet they
know it
wish it
happened during a period when
they were about
wasn't,
to go bust.
yeah, and they needed, and like that's, but like,
I bet they wish they'd sold the rights to Michael Jackson. Have you never heard that story?
no, but
Apparently, Michael Jackson was the other last runner in the bidding war for Spider-Man alongside Sony, and he was going to make a Spider-Man film with himself cast as Spider-Man.
they should have done that, because then they would have had a better chance of getting it back off his estate than they do off Sony.
Yeah, oh yeah, they absolutely when
And let's be honest, a Michael Jackson Spider-Man film would have just gone down as like, cringe, but it's one of those funny ones to watch.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Anyway,
Spider-Man doing Thriller.
Oh man,
it'd be like the bat nipples.
Oh, don't. Oh no. Fallout show.
Yes, we got a new trailer.
We did. If nothing else, even if the dialogue is shit, story makes no sense, whatever, the setting and the costumes feel really good.
Yeah, I would agree. I was going to say, the visually looks great. The vibe and the style that they're going for, with like, they are nailing the Fallout vibe of that world visually, which is great. And like you say, the story or what dialogue or whatever, we are unknown whether that's great or not. I am worried that it visually looks great. There felt like a lot of fan service nods. And
hopefully that was just for the trailer.
That's what I'm hoping, but it does like worry me a bit. And I said this, I think, when it first got out, like, I worried that it would lean too heavy on fan service in the nods to the game.
There is a real sweet spot in there that is really difficult to hit in video game shows.
Yeah.
Especially when it's a brand new story, not just adapting. Like in The Last of Us, it's all and none fan service at the same time because it's the same story.
Yeah.
They're just telling it in a different medium. Whereas Bethesda were like, no, do your own story. You can have our universe, but make a new story. And at that point, you're like, well, you have to do some fan service, but how do you balance it?
Yeah, hopefully they've not lent on it too heavily, and they're actually going to somewhat tell an original feeling story.
For sure. But genuinely, the quality of the outfits and everything, it's almost like they went to 100 Comic-Cons, they got the best Fallout cosplayer from each one and gave them a studio budget and went, cook. It really has that vibe. It feels like just the most insane high quality cosplay you've ever seen.
To be fair to Amazon, like they've clearly given the props and costume departments like a good budget, because those departments can make amazing outfits. It all comes down to budget. So clearly they're putting the budget in the right place. Visually, and a lot of practical sets and stuff by the feel of it.
They looked very practical for sure.
Yeah. So, and obviously there was a lot of practical prosthetics.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm
good feeling.
I'm intrigued by it. Yeah.
I want it to be good so much because I feel like that kind of universe for a TV show, like even once the first season is over and you've told that story, there's still so many stories to be told in a nuclear wasteland.
Well, and Fallout's set up perfectly because it has all these different vaults. Like you can just be like, okay, season 2, hello Vault 56 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they can just jump to it, and it's like they can have some characters reappear because still the same world, but like now we're in a vault somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it also, if it does well, I really want it to do well just for the sake of like, Last of Us did great. Everyone was like, holy shit, video games have great stories. And it kind of put a bit more respect onto the storytelling from video games. Halo then kind of damaged that a little bit. And then I love if this does well and then people are like, oh wow, another game that's got like an amazing world for storytelling. And like more people kind of realize, okay, video games are really cool.
There is, and it'd be remiss of us not to mention it. Just the state of the gaming industry at the minute with all the layoffs.
Yeah.
Seeing these shows with such big budgets based on these IPs, you do just find yourself going, this medium is just the weirdest thing ever. By revenue, it's the biggest media on the planet. Like nothing else is even remotely close.
Yeah.
Record-breaking games still result in mass layoffs. You'll see studios buy the rights to make the game into a film for stupid money. Still loads of layoffs. Like Sony announced layoffs that affected Naughty Dog, the people who made The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Season 1 won so many awards. Season 2 is going to be great. The games are some of the most sought after games of all time. People are literally waiting on tenterhooks for the next Naughty Dog game.
Yep.
And their workforce still gets slashed. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it is rough at the minute, and I think it's a mix of many things that's causing this. And my take on it is like it's definitely some of this is them over bloated from COVID when video game industry went into like hyper speed and everyone was hiring. And then I think it's also then a lot of overcorrection because they're worried about the upcoming economic position of the world. They're trying to prepare for the really worst by going like overcorrection, I feel. And that's why it's feeling so bad at the minute.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we are going to actually end up. We've seen it already this year with Power World, with Helldivers. I mean, Baldur's Gate last year. Like indie devs, I think we're going to get a golden age of indie games because all these amazing devs are going to be like, well, fuck it, let's just make our own and start their own game. Then like they've seen like all these indie games with small teams doing amazing games and getting so much love, and they're like, yeah, we can produce that. We just weren't allowed.
I think, and don't get me wrong, it is very easy, especially for us being the way we are, to just go corporation bad, it's corporation fault.
Yeah.
I think in the video game industry, it's exactly that though. The people at the top controlling the money, making the financial decisions, do not know the world. They do not play in the world. They don't play games. They've never played games. They are just high-level C-suite motherfuckers who've gone, that industry's making a boatload of money. I'm going to go work over there. They've inflated their own paycheck. They've inflated stockholder paychecks. And it's come at the cost of quality and job security. Because
they also have
how
bad
many
takes?
Like in the last 10 years, I feel like a lot of the big game studios have IPO'd. They've gone public.
Probably.
Once a company goes public, the chances of success still leading to employees getting screwed over goes through the roof because you've got a bunch of stockholders just going, I want more money. And they just squeeze every penny they can, which is where the practices of like crunching and that came from.
Yep.
That's them going, no, you've got to make this deadline, otherwise our stockholders might sack our CEO who's done nothing but nothing.
Yeah. It's funny when you look back over the last couple of years. I would say all the top games are from studios that are all the like most popular games have been indie studios or maybe slightly bigger. Like obviously the people that make Baldur's Gate are they're indie, but they're still a substantial
They're
studio.
established.
Yeah. Because they have strong creative control over their games. These, like you say, these big studios have the worst takes on some of their games on like why they've succeeded. Like for the example that jumps into my mind recently is the response to the success of the Harry Potter game. And they're like, oh, we need to make this, we need to move away from these one and done games with like a just a story and live service. I'm sorry, live service is the new fucking battle royale meme.
Yeah.
Every studio is like, we need a battle royale. We're bringing out a battle royale. It's a fast-paced, multi-level, and then now it's like, our next game's live service. And it's like, they're going to realize people play like one live service game at a time, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna play Helldivers 2 over something you guys make because they're gonna do a better job.
I love Fortnite. I do. I will never
Yes.
ever play the game again, but I do love it. It did so much good for me personally. Without it, I wouldn't know you guys. We wouldn't have this
Yeah.
podcast. I would probably not even be making content because I wouldn't have found this world at all. Like
Yeah.
Fortnite was a massive awakening for me in like the sense of like what I enjoy doing.
Hmm.
But it has done a lot of harm to the industry because a bunch of dickheads who only think about money saw the financial success of it and just looked at what it was at its core rather than what made it what it was.
Yeah, too
They
many
looked
people
at it.
they saw the money and thought, "Oh, we can replicate that," but didn't actually pay attention to what Fortnite was doing. And I don't actually think no one has ever replicated. Probably the closest actually has been Helldivers. Like
Yeah,
their
but even then, it's not the
events.
same
No,
level.
it's not, and it's obviously a different game. But like they're the closest with like a live service game because I think that's what
Yeah.
all these studios have been trying to replicate is this idea of a live service game. And it's like Fortnite is a different beast because they own the fucking engine that they've built in. Like they have an idea, they go to the devs of the engine and be like, "Hey, we had this idea. Can you build this in?" And like, "Yeah, sure, we'll make that."
But also, it wasn't like they didn't make it expensively because it wasn't supposed to be anything that mattered. They made it, people found it, decided it was fun, and
Mm.
instead of just sitting on their arse, they were like, right, what do they want? And they, for like the first 2 years, they did weekly
Yeah,
updates.
yeah, yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember that time, like in like season 2 and 3, when they were it was like, oh, new update tonight, boys. Let's see what they've changed. And they're like, new gun, new bomb, new this, new that. They've changed so much. Let's drop in and go.
Yeah,
And
every
it was
time it
just,
felt different.
yeah,
And then the
they
events was a
mastered it.
different beast because they were like, they obviously had that idea, like, we want to weave a story in. And then they were like, wait, what if we were to? I bet someone in the office was like, okay, so we've got this idea for doing an event. What if everyone experienced it at the same time? And they went, huh, engine devs, can that be possible? I don't see why not. Let's figure it out. And then, like, they did. And obviously, they had that advantage. No studios matched that. And that's what made Fortnite special is like, we all were experiencing everything at the same time together.
So no one had ever done it before, which made it
Yeah.
even more
Well,
mind blowing.
yeah.
This notion that you're like, boys, oh, boys, did you see on Twitter about that fucking rift in the sky? Have you seen the theories about it? Oh,
Yeah.
boys, the cubes moved. The community decided to name this fucking random cube that spawned out of nowhere that no one knew about. They were like, that's Kevin.
I actually
Like,
think, I feel like that came from Tim's stream.
quite possibly. But do you know what I mean? Like,
But yeah, yeah.
we'll never experience anything like it again.
No. No.
It
And
was insanity.
I do, like, I obviously recency bias with Helldivers, but actually the way they've been doing their events in game and things happening is the closest it's felt to like a community again being like, holy shit, there's an event happening, we all need to fucking
For
band
sure.
together. And it's like they've nailed that feeling of what a live service game should feel like for the players. Not just, oh, new season, new battle pass, here you go.
Exactly, and this is the thing. Helldivers have nailed right. Fortnite worked because community, it was
Hmm.
fun, didn't take itself too seriously. Let's do that. Whereas the money people who saw Fortnite were like, okay, it was a battle royale, there was nothing pay to win, then released a new battle pass with new skins,
Yeah, they did
£8 for the
seasons.
currency,
Yeah.
it was seasons. Let's just do that.
They're
And
just like,
then what did we
we
get?
need battle
One
pass.
million billion battle royales that all
Oh.
are the same thing, and they have their unique selling point, like Apex with its respawns. And then guess what? Fortnite would do it better.
Yeah, I remember when Apex had the whole cards and you could bring your mates back, and then it was like, oh, Fortnite has the thingy bus. Fortnite
And it
added
was
a
a
ping
better,
system in,
yeah,
and it's like I would say Apex is the only other, and PUBG's still going, but it's not as big in like
Europe,
America. Yeah, Europe and America. It's more West now, East. Um,
East.
Apex is the only other battle royale. Warzone's had its places, but I don't think it's ever got close to like how long Apex has lasted.
And like I'm still down to go play Apex. Like if you were like I'm on a bit of an Apex grind at the minute, I'd be like I could play some Apex.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, battle royales are dead to me. I will happily never play another battle royale ever
I
again.
I can see there will be one that comes out and it like the same effect. I don't know how or what it'd be, but something there will be one that's like that Fortnite effect of like, holy shit, the whole world's playing it and I'll play it and I'll love it. But I think that's a very rare thing. I actually think there's only one franchise that could do that, and it's Halo.
I think Halo's lost too much goodwill after Halo Infinite. I don't think enough people would even care. It would need to land and not have any issues.
It would have to
going.
launch perfectly and be like this huge thing and have so much content planned and like launch like run with it like Fortnite did. I think you could get the whole world playing it, but chances are not. But it's like you said, like these big studios with money saw, oh, VR, bar pass, microtransactions, money, easy. To the point where then games that weren't BRs are like, oh, seasons, battle passes. Yeah, cool. Add them in. Boom, chuck in a load of microtransactions. To which the devs are like, oh, they're like, we need a bar pass. So they're like, okay, well, we put in the bar pass. I don't know, but don't spend too much time on it because we can't make it cost too much for us. So then they just fill it with junk like, oh, here's a spray and a gun buddy and Apex's issue of here's a voice line. And it's like, it's just all junk.
Do you want to know the only game, as far as I'm aware, there might be more now, that do battle passes that I don't despise?
Go on.
Halo.
Because
you can buy any of the old ones.
Yeah.
And you can go back and finish them whenever. I play Halo very sporadically. Sometimes I'll get the itch for it. At any point, if I was to fall in love with Halo and that's all I want to play 8 hours a day for 6 months, I could buy each battle pass once I've completed the last one, and I could unlock all the stuff I've missed out on. That I want, and I'm not even joking, that this isn't something I've thought about it so long. I want the same way I want loot boxes banned and like gambling in video games banned. I want FOMO driven like user engagement banned. I hate that Call of Duty, FIFA, all of the big games now are 100% predicated on we want this to be the only game you're playing. Do you know how much I miss jumping between 6 games because they're all fun?
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, this game's fun and I care about this game right now, so I feel the need to play it 8 hours a day so that I don't miss out on this thing that I won't be able to get otherwise.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I do.
It's wrong.
I see a happy medium of like, I'm fine. I'd be okay with like very specific, like it's Christmas, so there's an event Christmas pass that is limited, and you can have some fun with that. And then like, oh, I played this game during this Christmas, but like the bulk of skins and any really cool skins, this like shouldn't be exclusive to a season.
It's
which
absolutely
like
crazy.
League does well, to be fair. Like they release skins and you can like I can go unless it's a skin that's got a really old one and they've kind of removed it because it's old asset and they don't want to sell it anymore. But then now they've reworked a lot of them. But it's like you can go and I can be like, oh, there's I don't know, a Yasuo skin from like 15 years ago and I can just buy it if it's the one that I like. And yeah, there's some event like some seasonal specific ones that you can't get because they were limited.
It's just crazy, and I just dislike it because you're preying on people in a sense of buy it now or maybe never again, and it's just dreadful. Right, on to some Nerd News Network. I think that was enough of a tangent.
Yeah, we got tangented off Fallout show pretty hard then.
The Rock missed out on being one of the highest earning actors in Hollywood for 2023. I think that's the first time he's not been top in 6 or 7 years.
Oh, if only he'd made Black Adam 2.
With Adam Sandler at 73 million, Margot Robbie at 59 million, and Tom Cruise at 45 million, coming in coming in as the top 3 according to Forbes.
What did Adam Sandler do last year?
He signed a massive deal with Netflix.
Oh,
where he's made like 5 movies for Netflix.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and like all of them came out last year.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
And that Tom Cruise is a little bit misleading
Okay.
because he owns Mission Impossible.
Oh, so he just
So
makes money off it.
a lot of his money on Mission Impossible is back end, and as a producer, not as Tom Cruise as an actor.
Yeah.
So Tom Cruise probably made more than $45 million from films last year.
Yeah.
He just only got paid $45 million for his acting services.
Got you.
And of course, that is just according to Forbes. These
Yeah.
numbers aren't going to be exactly accurate. This will be best guesstimate.
Yeah.
Variety have reported
Saw this.
that Deadpool and Wolverine will have a lot of cameos, with the doping actor Karen Sunny saying, "Let's just say a lot of people travel to London."
I'm not surprised. We kind of have said this and kind of
Makes sense.
expected this, considering it's dealing with the TVA. Deadpool's clearly going to be going through different branch timelines. There's a lot of fun to be had there. Also, doesn't mean all the ones that got filmed get shown.
Exactly. They might just film loads to see what makes sense. By the sounds of it, Vinnie Jones was asked to return as Juggernaut, and he couldn't be asked.
No. Oh, that's such a shame.
Fun fact, Vinnie Jones used to live like 5 minutes away from me.
That's wild.
Yeah, he's a fucking nutcase.
That's why he was Juggernaut.
The New Boys marketing material, really leaning into current events.
Yeah, I've seen this. It's really leaning on the political run for president.
Yeah, like make America super again.
Yeah. They know what they're doing.
We've said this a million times. The Boys makes fun of both sides. It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It definitely more heavily takes the piss out of the right wing. Yet the right wing continually miss it. Do you think this is them seeing how far they can push it before the right wing realizes? Or do you think this is them legitimately going, fuck, the right wing think we agree with them. We need to make it really obvious that they're the butt of the joke.
I think both.
This is the most obvious they've been. Like, they've always been pretty obvious. But this is like...
I think this is like, they're just going, fuck it. We're just going to be as obvious as we like. Let's just put it in everybody's face now. Like, look, this is what we mean. Also, I've just realized we know Homelander is going to be dealing with that, like blowing that guy up. So he's probably going to be in a legal case.
They couldn't believe their luck.
they're literally just like mirroring what is going on.
There needs to be a joke about how Homelander has tiny hands at some point in this show.
No, he needs to sell golden shoes.
Oh no! Did you not see they tweeted about that?
No.
Yeah, no. From the Vought Twitter account, they tweeted about new golden shoes, and all the money is going to go towards Homelander's legal defense.
No.
Yeah. Let me just double check this quickly.
Oh no, that's great.
They tweeted about it.
I so hope that's just like the social media manager was like, guys, we need to do this idea real quick. Honestly, that's so good.
I'm sending you the tweet right now. I'm sending you the tweet literally right now.
They're so good.
If Hori's feeling up to it, it'll flash it up on screen now.
just giving me the more words to I see.
Yeah. Today, Vought is proud to announce the Homelander high tops. Based on our greatest heroes' boots. These shoes will make you feel like you can fly. Available at a super deal of $777, with all proceeds going to his legal defense fund. Get yours before his Shamva trial ends on June 13th.
That's so funny.
Yeah. They do not miss. They are so quick with it.
100%. Social media manager was like, I have a great idea, and they've gone, yeah, run it.
Yeah. The social media manager is so quick
or the marketing team.
They're clearly allowed to work with almost impunity.
Yeah.
Because we know people who do social media for like larger companies, and the amount of times they're like, this meme that I've now got permission to use isn't funny anymore because it took too long to get it approved.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this.
Yeah,
season
so am I. So am I. It's gonna be good.
Disney Plus projects such as Moon Knight, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Andor, and Kenobi are getting 4K UHD physical releases at the end of April.
Andor in 4K.
Mm-hmm. My brother in Christ. We got really worried because Disney sold off their arm that does their physical production, and they partnered up with Sony to take it over. It seems like that's actually because they want to get back into distributing physical media, but
they don't want the
can't be asked to
infrastructure
organise it
cost.
themselves. Yeah. So this might actually be a good thing.
Well, I mean,
I am all for anything that gets physical media out there, because now, if for whatever reason they decide to pull Moon Knight and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier off of Disney Plus forever, there is going to be someone somewhere
has
with a copy of it.
Yeah. Do you know what? This is probably a stretch, but what if this is a big brain play for them to be kind of sweetening their relationship with Sony, because we're oh, look at all this revenue we're bringing in through digital media. Now, just let us do our thing with Spider-Man over here. Or we'll take that away.
Horry, do you have a particular favourite month of the year?
I do. It's my birthday month of June.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So for June, you would really, really like it if it was confirmed that The Bear Season 3, The Boys Season 4, The Acolyte, and House of the Dragon Season 2 will all air in June.
Yeah, that would make a really good birthday present.
Yeah, bearing in mind they're 4 shows that you really, really are excited for.
They are.
June is going to be fucking stacked.
It really is.
Because there's also... Is June not also when Deadpool 3 comes out, or am I smoking crack?
Maybe, or close to. You might be smoking, but...
July 2020.
July.
Not June. Still, crazy. Why have we got 4 peak TV shows all coming out at the same time?
I wanted to say, what if we get Rings of Power? But I think with the Boys and Amazon already got a show coming out, unlikely.
Yeah.
Not impossible.
Maybe off the back of it, but not at the same time.
The fact that we're going to have so much to watch. Well, the podcast technically only has 2 shows there to watch, but I will be watching all 4.
I mean, if I find a way to catch up with season 1 and 1 and 2 of The Bear, we might squeeze it in. But June is going to be very jam-packed, and that would be the first thing to fall off the chopping block.
Yeah. And you don't watch House of Dragons, so...
No, I'm not going to start.
I will be watching that, so I'm very excited for that.
6 seasons and a movie, Horizontal. These words have haunted us Community fans for a long, long time. The Community movie will begin filming this year. Joel McHale has confirmed it in a report from Deadline. He said, we know Danny's busy. We're going to work around him. It's being filmed this year.
Nice.
We are getting the Community film. I cannot fucking wait. It is finally happening.
The fans are going to be happy.
Chevy Chase won't be a part of it. That old bastard. God. Fucking hate Chevy Chase. I saw a really funny clip of Joel McHale on a podcast talking about it. And he was like, in my book, I've literally got a segment about how to fight him. And he's like, what? How to deal with him when he's in his own? No, how to physically fight him. He's like, there was a number of times we were advanced roughhousing is what he called it.
Advanced roughhousing.
Yeah. And
Love
it's and then I got in trouble because I accidentally dislocated his shoulder.
Sorry, officer. We weren't fighting. It's not assault. We were just having advanced roughhousery.
Just Chevy Chase might want to scummiest people ever, and I don't know how he got away with it for as long as he did.
Well,
more interesting news, and I've only got a point here, which is all Horry's got, but I do have something to add to this.
Oh, okay.
At Emerald City Comic Con, Chris Evans said superhero films don't get enough credit. If they were easy to make, there would be a lot more good ones.
There is quite a lot of bad ones, though, as well.
There is. No, Hey, it is so easy to make a bad comic book movie.
Oh yeah.
Just ask Zack Snyder.
Just ask Sony.
And he is absolutely right. Just because there's a lot of something doesn't mean it's easy.
No.
And I think this is what people they're like, oh, there's so many comic book movies, therefore it's easy. It's like, no, the good ones are just so good. And everyone's chasing that high.
Yeah, I mean, look at Marvel. They hit so many bangers and then suddenly realized, oh shit, we're not hitting them anymore. This isn't actually as easy to keep this ball rolling.
And the beauty of a comic book movie as well is, because comic books are just raw art, they are.
Yeah.
You can do so much with a comic book movie creatively.
Mm.
Like, you can have so much fun with it. There's not enough fun being had with it. If you've listened to this podcast before, you're sick of hearing me say this. Let people have more fun.
Yeah.
But it's really funny because for a long time after Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. left, people tried to bait them into shitting on Marvel a lot. And they never really fell for it, but they didn't say nice things. They just didn't say anything. And now in the last few months, it's almost like they've been away from it long enough and they're seeing the shit people are giving it. And they're like, hold the fuck on. I made films that I'm proud of there. We worked really hard on them. You guys loved them and it made a boatload of money. Don't now act like they were bad.
Yeah. Do you know what I think it partly is as well? It's like RDJ finally spoke up on it. And I feel like Chris has gone, okay, I can. If RDJ can do it, I'm free to speak my mind as well. It's almost like their PR trainings finally wore off.
And the thing I had to add was also while he was at Emerald City Comic Con, he was talking about the MCU further. And he said in his opinion, the best film he worked on was The Winter Soldier.
I knew that was where that was going.
Winter Soldier supremacy, motherfuckers! And that is it for this week. Way! We'll be back next week with more Bad Batch.
Yep.
With potentially the first episode of part 2 of Invincible. I don't know exactly when that comes out. We might have it, we might not. If we don't have that, we might have a mini review on Dune Part 2 from me. Our next gaming roundup from Josh. He'll be back next week.
What a busy month it's been for him.
It has indeed. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Yep. Make sure you ring the bell. Make sure you press the like button. Comment down below how pretty Horizontal is, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.